They have only vehicles, and there is only what is called the soul consciousness passing through all. That is what the Tibetan master calls the group work. So it is foolish to believe that the group work travels in the opposite direction. If one Krishnamacharya or Kumar who is sleeping in his bed, receiving some presence of Moria, feels that his work is necessary for Master Moria, that without the work of the disciples that Moria cannot do anything, that means this is still a little fool who is still thinking his presence inevitable. No doubt someday his presence also may be inevitable, but it is in the same direction towards our posterity and our juniors, but not in the opposite direction. We should never believe that the masters are helpless if we do not do the master's work. And continuously this process is going on. And you know how Madame Blavatsky has written this secret doctrine. If you read the first 12 or 13 pages of introduction, how this book has been written. If you read a few pages of the unfinished autobiography of Alice Bailey and similar diaries of certain people, you will understand how this university is working. They impart the same lesson that night to a group of students. The lesson will be given during sleep in the form of a seed of a lesson. The next morning, the poor fellow is not conscious of it at all. But within 10 or 15 days, the seed begins to germinate. It can be called a seed thought or a seed of thought. We may be quite new about it, but it is true. And that seed begins to germinate, and the result is Krishnamacharya may think that he is having rare, wonderful and fine ideas in his brain. He wonders at the rare and glorious concepts he is getting in his mind, because previously he knows the metal of the clay of his own brain. It was not possible for such ideas to the logic he was having previously. But still, for some years he believes that he is suddenly growing very, very intelligent, and that his comprehension is getting broader and broader. He thinks that the speed of his intelligence has grown too much, and he attributes it to the reason of the Aquarian age. He thinks to himself, this is Aquarian age, and the age of speed through space. And I may be one of those great pioneers who has to lead the Aquarian age. So something very speedy and quick is taking place in my wonderful golden brain. And the master will smile at us. By master, don't think it is Moria, but one of the 7 people will be having a 7, and one of the 7 people will be having his 7. It goes through 100 or 200 groups of 7 down, and the immediate fellow who is working with our brain during our sleep will be the traffic police of our spiritual street, who is waving his hand and directing the traffic of our thoughts in the required direction. This fellow laughs at us and says to his another friend, See, this Krishnacharya thinking that he is growing wise. See, we too thought like that some thousands of years ago.
Nous aussi, nous pensions comme ça il y a
It is but nature. They say, yes, it is but natural. Hey, we go to coffee.
Oui, mais c'est très naturel.
And after 4 or 5 years, we are asked to maintain regular diaries, where we are asked to note down the date and the time and the passage we receive through impression. See how through impression the seed germinates. After 10 or 15 days, after receiving the seed, when it begins to germinate, it germinates at first only into one word. For example, the word plan.
Par exemple, le mot plan.
Then, for about 2 or 3 days, the same word comes to the mind repeatedly. We don't know why the reason. You may be surprised to see that the same thing repeats in spite of your knowledge, ignorance of it. Then the next day you may get the word plan. Then you may get to your mind the picture of a circle. At first, to our mind, circle means nothing.
Au
Simply
début,
circle. There is nothing except zero in the circle because we have only zero in our brains. But we wonder to note that the same idea circle coming to the mind for 2 or 3 days. And suddenly you will find a circle with center. And the word, the plan, as if somebody was repeating. And then you will understand that it is something like astrology. When you happen to come across a textbook of astrology within the next few months, you will see the same figure in it. And if you ask the astrologer what it is, he says it is a symbol of the planet Sun. If you ask him why the symbol should be like that, he says nothing, just the first man used that symbol, therefore it is a symbol. Because there is an impermeable wall between our minds when we read these symbols in the books, and the connection between this symbol and that sambala is cut off. But your mind won't stop there, because daily in the nights someone is working upon your mind with these symbols, and you will begin to receive little sentences, and then afterwards passages, and you are expected to note down the date and write down the passages. But remember, this has nothing to do with the spiritism phenomena and seances. In spiritism, it is the departed souls who play dirty tricks with our minds and lead us into dangers, just as they have led Macbeth and Lady Macbeth in Shakespeare's drama. But the masters are consistent in giving us their plan gradually. And suddenly after 2 or 3 years you will meet a person in the train or aeroplane with whom you will have a conversation for about an hour, and come to know he is also receiving the same thing on the same dates. Then you will become good friends and verify your books again after 1 year. Like this the work starts. And we are expected to work 24 hours in the world. After a certain time, we have no life of our own. We have only our life and span for their work. At every step, if we accept this in the mind, we will continue to be the students of the university. But if we feel that we should have something of our own time for our own family and ourselves. Gradually the curtain is dropped between us and those people for the time being, not permanently. And the books we had previously, we laugh at them as our own childish behavior. And the symbols which used to teach us great wisdom appear to us as pictures drawn of insanity and something nonsensical. And the rest of the education in the outward world automatically takes place. Our relations with our colleagues and our family members remain the same, and they all think that we belong to them. The wife believes that the husband belongs to her. The son believes that the father belongs to him. But the father and the husband knows at heart that he belongs to his wife and his child as much as he belongs to any one of the people on the earth. So, a one-way traffic cut-off is given in the life. His presence will be enjoyed by his followers. They all possess him in their minds, but he knows he is not possessed by anyone. This is the ideal of education according to those who are going to educate our children in the 21st century. They have dictated the whole of secret doctrine to Blavatsky from a very long distance, and all the volumes of Alice A. Bailey from a very long distance. To thousands and thousands of students, they have imparted the same wisdom like that. And the network goes on for the benefit of mankind. And these centers exist on the subjective level, not on the objective level. So that they are not foolish enough to spend millions and millions of dollars on buildings and furniture and stone and cement. They believe that it is better to spend upon living buildings, that is souls, than to spend upon brick and mortar. Such educational centers will become more and more externalized during the next century. And parents will be wise enough to submit their children to such institutions. And the import of the ancient scriptures of all nations will be renewed and given in a revised form to the next generation. And the rest of the objective world goes on as it is normally. This is about the real education of the masters of wisdom as far as our time permits. I thank you all. I very much wish that you live in the presence of your own master gradually.